Welcome to our Rolemaster Actual play session. Twilight of the Old Order is a campaign set in the world of Duranarki, the continent of men. In this gritty, cutthroat world, politics, religion, and commerce are all intertwined and reign supreme. Characters need to be both smart and ruthless to survive. We hope you enjoy our story, and, as always, may the dice roll in your favor. This is episode 138 of Twilight of the Old Order. The two parties have parted company for a third time, with both groups now embarking on their own urgent and perilous quests. We pick up the story as the Twilight party sail out of Landaina's dismal harbour on a small fishing boat, bound for the town of Osot. Hello, I'm Chris, otherwise known as GM Chance, and welcome to our story. And that story is Twilight of the Old Order. For regular viewers of our channel, this screen will look a little bit less busy. Why? Because the two parties that had been together previously have parted company, and in this game, we're currently down to only 5 characters. And those 5 characters are the images you can see up on screen. In a minute or so, I'm going to hand over to a pre-recording of the characters, of the players who play those characters, to introduce their player, or so let me try that again, of their character or characters, just to provide a bit more background about them, and then a little bit later on, the players will live provide a bit more information about that character as well, with a background question which I send out earlier in the week, or supplying an image which describes a bit about their avatar in game. Before I do so, however, some shout outs. I quite regularly will just thank people for their warmth and their enthusiasm for supporting this, which is our hobby. And I thought actually it would be better to start naming some people individually. So just some people over the last few weeks or months or so that have just either said some nice things or have just had some great input, in no particular order. Firstly, Matt. So Matt is from a YouTube channel, a fantastic YouTube channel, just entitled World Builder Matt. And the quote, the spiel from his channel is, Matt is a professional illustrator who is creating the world known as Winter's Edge, a setting compatible with most RPGs, including Dungeons & Dragons and Pathfinder. And I had the very good fortune of meeting Matt in person at a games fair in Auckland a few weeks back. Matt's just a really nice guy. We chatted for quite some time. We've swapped a few messages since. And his art is really amazing, like really, really, really good. He's a very, very talented individual. He is, as per the bio, he's an illustrator by trade, and well worth checking out. So, yeah, either check out his channel to discover a little bit more about his own world that he's created, which is very impressive in its own right, or his own fantastic art. And also, Matt, just thanks for the encouragement and kind words, and very nice to see you today too. Another person, Spartan at RPG Pub. So Spartan walks his freelance bulldog named Theodore and listens to our tales. And Spartan has been very, very kind and very warm with taking the trouble to message us a few times to say that he's enjoying what he's listening to, and that he, and probably unlikely Theodore, but who knows, enjoys what we do. And a couple of other newish subscribers and some people who have made some kind comments. Valencia Jones, thank you for some lovely words. And a long-time supporter of the channel, a guy by the name of Matthew Patch. He's an Australian chap, I believe. And he runs a really great gardening YouTube channel, which is, interestingly enough, called Matthew's Patch. So, yeah, I thought rather than just simply doing my regular kind of, hey, thank you to everybody, naming a few people who have been particularly kind would be a good thing to do. And look, as I say quite regularly, this is something to do for fun. This is a hobby that we enjoy, that we love. We're delighted that people from all around the world get to enjoy our stories and the tales that we create together. So thank you. Keep the comments coming. And as I always say, if you're new, if you're kind of checking us out for the first time and you're liking it, a like down below, or even better, a subscribe would be fantastic. Thanks very much. So yeah, as mentioned before, we have pre-recordings of the players who will introduce their characters this evening, and I've done a bit of a re-edit of the video, and taking us away this evening is Graham. Take it away, Graham.
Hello, I'm Graham, and I play Severin Kaidegard, who is a human swordsman, a dab hand at the sword. Has spent his whole life training in swordsmanship. He is a very charming fellow and fancies himself as a bit of a leader.
Hi, I'm Stara. I play Jada. She's a 6'7" Arab-looking woman. She fights with a quarterstaff, but not often because she's a healer. She grew up in a monastery where they adopted her, and she has just been taught how to heal, do martial arts. That's all she's done her entire life.
Hello, I'm Graham, and I'm playing Tanya Anastasia, who is an elven hunter. Dab hand with a bow. She has some outdoor skills, some very adept sneaky skills, and is an interesting personality, a little bit spiky, a little bit difficult to know, but inside, a good egg.
Kia ora everyone, my name's Anthony, and for this episode I'm playing Ascallion, or Askell for short. He's a tall half-elf warrior mage who comes from the port city of Shabibi, and accordingly his favourite weapon is his ornate cutlass. As a warrior mage, Askell combines his offensive and defensive spells along with his prowess with his cutlass and in unarmed combat.
Kia ora, my name's Pete, and I'll be playing Nicholas in this episode. Nicholas is a common man and a mentad by profession. That means he is a spell user, and he uses spells from the mentalism realm. Nicholas is a quiet and sort of unassuming sort of fellow. He doesn't like to draw attention to himself.
And there we go. So hopefully those faces up on screen mean a little bit more to you now. So as mentioned before the character intros, earlier in the week I sent out a series of questions which are designed to just elicit a bit more thinking and a bit more thought about the characters that the players are playing. And just recently I've started asking for either people answering one of those questions and or sending through an image that just provides a bit more richness, a bit more meat on the bones about the characters. And kicking us off tonight is Pete. Pete, take it away, please.
Thank you. So I'm answering for Nicholas. Here's the question. Considering your party members, who do you trust the most and why? And conversely, who do you trust the least and what do they need to do to earn your trust? So I'd say fairly easily, Severin is the person that Nicholas would trust the most. Severin's always he's a man of his word. You know, he's called out hard decisions. He's sort of made decisions that are detrimental to him and the group because of his morals. So, Nicholas would definitely trust him. He seems, he's a trustworthy person. The person who Nicholas trusts least would be Askell, because he's newest to the group. Also, Askell's connection to the Monman and his what was that image from last time? Keeping the foot on the on the people's head to keep the poor and the stupid down. Well, he agrees with keeping the stupid people down, but Yeah, there's a funny connection there, and we don't know all. Nicholas gets the feeling we don't know everything about Haskell. The way he could sort of improve Nicholas's trust, although he does trust him to a certain extent, is just to share just a little bit more. Yeah.
Excellent.
And can we please hear from Haskell?
All right. Yeah, for Haskell, that's a nice little segue. He is going to do. Sorry, I had it up for a second.
I've got an image.
No, I'm going to do a question.
Okay.
Reflecting on a recent challenge, just a couple of weeks back in game time. So after a fun-filled day of knocking around Jedi Ratana and not killing rich people's pets, we just casually headed back to accommodation at the time, and Haskell was pulled aside by a person from his past, and settled into a bit of an argument. So his strengths he had to use was strength of stubbornness and a fortitude around pushing back against this individual. The weakness exposed was actually Esker was fortunate that he had Tanya actually seeing what was going on, and so Tanya came over and provided him a little bit of support and a bit of a deep and meaningful that night as well. So how to address those future weaknesses as well. Askel's actually had it in the back of his mind about to actually probably grabbing Tanya at some point and just sharing a little more with her. That's cool.
Excellent. Thank you. Who's next?
I will pass over to the Graham.
Graham.
Yeah, like in terms of we'll start with Severin. In terms of characters that they trust, I think a lot of it is quite right. It's just how long you've been kicking around and the things that you've gone through, so I think sorry, I think probably it would be probably the newest member in each case because obviously we don't know so much about you, and obviously there is a little cloud there of something going on which is we're not quite sure about. And I would suggest that we're probably all wretchedly paranoid as well. It's amazing we let anyone else join, quite honestly, because I think we're so much has happened that's a surprise, and things we didn't see coming, and so I think, but the rest of us are probably, I would, it'll go that way. I think as time goes on, we just get tighter, and I think that goes for the rest. In terms of trusting Mo, Jada obviously is the one, Severin in particular, kind of, he appreciates her goodness. Although, to be honest, of late, she started to get a bit more fundamentalist than he remembers. That's slightly a lot. She's sort of slightly come out of her shell a little bit, and he's a little bit alarmed at some of the. He's not a godly person, so she's speaking her mind a bit more these days, and he's like, oh, really? So that's probably, generally the case. And probably to Tanya too, probably the same answer. Obviously, Tanya, as you say, Anthony did sort of witness an odd thing going on, and she did sort of, the only time I think she's ever done it, she did kind of stand sentinel and actually, for want of a better word, spy on a member of the party, which I don't think she's done. Well, I don't know, she hasn't done before. Didn't find out anything, although possibly there are other means of egress. They're probably the same answers. But hey, nothing personal. Obviously, it's I think that's just the way it goes, isn't it? In actual fact, how long has it been since Haskell joined the party? It's probably only been a week, is it? 2 weeks?
I can tell you.
Right.
So
6 weeks, isn't it?
something like that. So today is the 5th of the 12th month, the 5th of year's end. Haskell joined. I can tell you. Meet Haskell 2 months ago on the 23rd of the 10th month. So weeks, that is 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks. You were pretty much bang on, Anthony, 6 weeks ago.
Wow.
Ratio of 6 weeks to having time to be knocked out.
A lot's happened in 6 weeks.
I'll say.
Thank you. Thank you, Graham, for Tanya and Severin. And Jadar tonight is the... I will just make a quick note. We do have another player with us tonight who will be familiar to our regular viewers and audience members. Giles, do you want to say hi? And we'll find out why why you've joined tonight as well. But Giles is with us. If you want to say hi.
I'll say hi, and I guess we might find out why I'm with us later on in game.
Maybe. It's possible. It's possible. Very good. And in terms of the last character that's up on screen there, Jadar, were you going to speak to Jadar, or is Sarah going to Anthony?
Yes, you did give me some little notes.
Okay.
You can flash it up.
Cool. So this is Jadar here. That's her image, and then I think there were some images that went along with it. Tell me when you're ready for the image.
Yeah, go the first one, and I'll hopefully it lines up to what you told me was the first image.
Here we go. First image.
Yes. So this is Jadar at obviously quite a bit younger, and before she got a little bit more covered up for previous reasons. So this is kind of her first clinic. Where she first dabbled in providing some medical support and health and healing. All right. Obviously way back out in the desert land. And then the second image. This is Jadar's dream. She wants to have her own clinic, or as you can see in the background, makeshift hospital.
Makeshift? Make something hospital, anyway, yes?
Yeah. And obviously continues to be extremely attractive without any sort of scaly skin and long skin.
She does remind me of a certain ex-president's wife. Anyway, maybe that's just me reading into things. I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess the core of Jadar's journey so far in life is she's a healer and looking after people, and ultimately she wants to have her own sort of practice.
Yes. Excellent. Thank you very much indeed. So, well met, one and all. And thank you for filling in for Jadar, for Stara, who's unfortunately been taken unwell today. Hope you're better soon, Jadar. Stara. That's it. Those are the 5 characters in play. There are their names, and those are a bit about them. All right. A bit of a recap. We usually play fortnightly, and indeed it was 2 weeks ago since we last played. Pete, who often does a recap for us, was not at that session, so I'm going to I hope very quickly just blast through a few comments to bring viewers and Pete up to speed a little bit. So the last session started off in the dismal harbour of Landaina, and 3 characters, notably Askell, Nicholas, and Gray, went around various healers to try to gain some more healing insight into what may be able to assist with Keros from the hero party's possible revival. You have managed to, or the party was able to, a session or two ago, managed to preserve Keros, so she's not going to rot anymore. But this mission was to see if you can find, or the session last time was to see if you can find more healing from other healers. And you can see there are a few of the kind of the street scenes from Landaina. That was the temple of Hera, where High Priest Aveline cast the preservation spell on Keros. So after traipsing around various other healing establishments, there's one here owned by Master Arik, and there's another couple. I won't pop them up on screen. But after several kind of dead ends, unfortunately, the conclusion that you have reached, and you managed to get that information from going to I think it was the third and final healer, a shrine, a Dio shrine in Landaina called the Silver Lotus. Dio, by the way, is another faith in this world, and a very kind and kindly High Priestess Lynn. Wonder what that is. High Priestess Lynn seemed to take a shine to you. It really came down to Nicholas rolling a particularly good, basically influence roll, and she informed you that there just simply is not a healer adequate enough in Landaina to heal Keros. Sorry, yes, a healer of sufficient power to heal Keros. There was a herb that you were able to track down. In fact, if now I recall, actually, Master Eric actually did have some of this medication. It was a clove, but it had some really unpleasant side effects, and the decision was to actually not give it to Keros. So, after coming to that conclusion, by the way, that's the sign of Dio, the faith of Princess Lynn from the Silver Lotus. After discovering that was it. The three characters, Askell from this party, Grey, and Nicholas, I should say, from this party as well. Askell from this party? No, sorry, it wasn't Askell. It was help me out. I just said it before.
Tarquin.
Thank you. It was Tarquin. Thank you. Thanks, Pete. You weren't even here. Thanks. Made their way back to the boat, not without incident. All of a sudden, there was a terrible noise, and the ground started to shake, and what appeared to be some kind of earthquake. The characters happened to be passing a piece of construction with bricks and bamboo scaffolding up on quite high up above them, and that material came crashing down. And they were very, very lucky to avoid serious injury. Nicholas did get grazed a bit and did take kind of a half brick to the shoulder, and he's kind of aching and bruised a bit and covered in brick dust, but he's okay. The three characters made it back to the ship with no name, that vessel there in Landaina harbour. Pretty much in good time to wait for the stroke of 12 bells and to say farewell to their companions in the hero party and their also unnamed benefactor, friend, host. You don't know who he is, but this guy here who has been advising you and was one of the first faces you saw when you were pulled off the horrors of Jewel Island. At the stroke of 12 bells, pretty much exactly on the stroke of 12 bells, you headed out after saying your farewells to the hero party and critically to Grey. So Grey Roughwind, who has been a member of this party for some 4 or 5 months, had made a very difficult decision to stay with the hero party, and he said his farewells to these group of characters as they headed off the ship with no name and then piled onto this very small fishing boat, crewed by one man. This man here called Opara. And Opara, it's an unusual picture of him because he's smiling. He doesn't usually smile, as you'll discover in a minute. But Opara has been tasked at midday to sail you the apparent half day down the coast to a place called Osot. And that's where we're going to begin the game, unless there's any qualifying questions, unless I've missed anything, any questions from any of the players, please. Nope. Okay. Let's start the game. So a bit of narration from me, folks. As you embark your journey from the dismal port of Landaina, the oppressive heat and humidity weighs heavily upon you, saturating the air with a palpable sense of discomfort. The steady rainfall provides little relief, each droplet adding to the dreariness of the grey, overcast sky that stretches endlessly above. The small fishing boat, its timbers weathered and worn, is crewed by the taciturn Opara, whose gruff demeanour offers no solace in the face of the foreboding atmosphere. Opara, a solitary figure with a weather-beaten face and callous hands, moves about the boat with an air of quiet determination. His gaze rarely strays from the path ahead, his movements precise and deliberate as he navigates the treacherous water of the Katana Sea. Despite numerous attempts at conversation from yourselves, Opara remains stoically silent, his only response a grunt or a nod as he goes about his duty. It soon becomes apparent he has little interest in idle chatter, preferring instead to focus on the task at hand. As the boat glides through the murky waters, you are treated to a spectacle of eerie beauty and unrelenting danger. To the left, the vast expanse of the Katana Sea stretches out to the horizon. To your right, the tangled mass of tall mangroves of the Alameng. The green festa loom ominously, their twisted roots reaching out like gnarled fingers in search of prey. From the depths of the swamps, strange sounds echo through the air. The haunting cry of a distant bird, the ominous rustle of unseen creatures moving through the undergrowth. Throughout the day, can't shake the feeling of being watched. Your senses heightened by the oppressive atmosphere that surrounds you. At times, you catch fleeting glimpses of movement amongst the vines and mangroves, only to have them vanish into the gloom as quickly as they appeared. Strange shapes flit through the shadows, their forms obscured by the dense foliage that blankets the swamp. Then, all of a sudden, there's a crash from the undergrowth. You all pause and then take a breath, hands readied on weapons, waiting for something terrible to happen. But nothing does. And as you all breathe again, Opara steers the little boat further, another 100 foot or so away from the malignant shoreline, away from the beckoning, grasping, horrific swamp. As dusk approaches, the scent of civilizations reaches your nostrils. mingling with the foul odours of decay and desperation that hang heavy in the air. Soon the lights of Osot come into view. A ramshackle town nestled against the swamps like a forgotten relic of a bygone era. The buildings, their once sturdy facades, now crumbling and overgrown with moss, loom ominously in the fading light, casting long shadows across the muddy streets. The place is small, much smaller than Landaina, and with none of the grand, faded grandeur that city once had. This place is just awful. The very first bay that you come into, and it's just around here, around this corner, has some limited activity as larger ocean-going vessels are at anchor, their crews unloading cargo and exchanging goods with the locals. The air is sometimes punctuated with is thick, I should say, with the smell of salt and fish, and more unpleasant smells, mingled with the sounds of creaking ropes and the occasional shouts of sailors. Further inland, the bays become progressively smaller and quieter, populated by a motley assortment of fishing vessels and small boats. Here, the air is heavy, with the scent of brine and decay, the waters murky and stagnant beneath the oppressive heat of the setting sun. Few people venture into these parts of town, it looks like. Their dilapidated docks and crumbling buildings serve as stark reminder of Osot's wretchedness. Disembarking from the little boat, you follow Opara, who just simply grunts, "We're here," at you as he moors the boat to this mouldering dock here. He turns and over his shoulder says, "Follow me." He appears really not to be too bothered whether you follow him or not. A few people, those that are around, feign slight interest in your arrival. The fact that a number of you are carrying gear of war, swords, shields, bows, etc. But within a couple of glances, shuffle about their duties. You don't appear to be of much interest. You follow Opara through the labyrinth of streets of Osot, your footsteps muffled by the thick layer of mud that coat the grounds. Wary eyes occasionally follow your progress from darkened doorways and broken windows, their owners hidden from sight but ever watchful. Eventually, you arrive at a 3-story stone house in severe disrepair. Its windows are boarded up, its roof sagging under the weight of neglect. Just going to dial that down a little. Eventually, you arrive at a 3-storied stone house in severe disrepair, its windows boarded up and its roof sagging under the weight of neglect. Opara knocks on the door with a heavy fist, the sound echoing through the empty streets like a death knell. After a moment, door opens to reveal this man. Ooh. It's quite a big door.
It's a massive door.
It's a big door. To reveal this man. He looks at... He looks at Opara, just nods. Opara turns on his heel and trudges back the way he's come. and this man is standing in front of you in the doorway. Does anybody say or do anything at this moment?
I guess it would be. I guess we'll just sort of. I believe you have lodgings for us.
He looks you up and down, looks Askell in the face. Yes, I have been waiting for you. Kind of unemotional, almost like dead, and his accent of his Thebronic is very strange. You can't quite pick it. You are welcome here. There is room, board, and food. In either 3 or 4 days, I will lead you on to your next destination, which has been shared with me. Come with me now. He leads you inside, and downstairs it's a mess. Basically, it's looks like some kind of perhaps lodging house. Definitely not like an inn or a tavern. It's there's kind of like a communal eating place which you find yourself in when you enter this place. It stinks. It smells really bad. There's rotting straw on the ground. There's probably a row of about 7 or 8 wooden tables and wooden benches. There's some curtain rooms. All the curtains are kind of mouldy and half-eaten, and in terrible repair. And some doors which are closed, and a flight of stairs. Without really looking to see whether you're coming, your host just starts trudging up stairs, and certainly one of the first things that strikes you is the smell of rat urine, and even the sound of rats. He takes you upstairs down a pretty dismal hallway with a number of closed doors down it. You think you hear movement behind some of the doors, at least, and opens up a door at the far end into a room that looks like this. In here, he says, and there's someone waiting for you. He says he's been waiting for you for a few days. And looking around the room, that's exactly, by the way, what it looks like. It's pretty god-awful. A number of those brown things are indeed rats, which kind of scurry away as the door is opened. You probably don't see as much of this room as this, because it's beginning to darken outside, although there are those candles lit. And critically, sitting on this bed, sitting cross-legged perhaps on this bed, is not that, is this man. Oops. Up again. This man. Who is looking at you. Giles, would you like to give me a description of what they see, please?
Best not to be talking to myself. I guess what they see is a tall, angular, slightly odd-looking, very obvious elf. Clad in no armour, wearing reasonably tight-fitting, dark-coloured clothes, appearing to kind of be meditating, I guess. Unusual-looking sword on his back and a rather unusual-looking club by his side. He would notice their entry, but not particularly introduce himself or greet them, and I guess would sit and wait to see what they would say.
Your host turns to you, to Team Twilight, and says, "Food downstairs when you're ready." And with that incredibly warm, hospitable welcome, goes on his way. What do you do?
Can I just check? We were told by our smiling friend back on the main boat that there was potentially a person who might share the same interests as us.
Correct.
Yeah, and so I assume our group's assumption is this is the person.
Correct.
I was just trying to find the map, Chris. I can't. Have you got one there that just to show us where we are?
Can. And your characters, actually, your characters don't have a map, but I will share it with you. The hero team do, I think. Oh no, you do. You were given a map. You were given a map by Ningwin. We're given a map. Here we go. Oh, look at that. So, Ritana is up here. You sailed 3 days south to some god-awful island here, called Jewel Island. You then sailed a day and a half or so to the horrendous city of Landaina, which is here. And you've now sailed half a day down to Osot there.
And yeah, so potentially, I can't remember if the hero stopped in here or not. Don't know that they did.
Do you mean on our way from Ningwin to Ritana?
Yeah, I seem to remember. Yeah, it wasn't a great place for magic items or selling anything, but it was a bit safer than some of the places that we were. Like, assuming Hero sort of shared that information, it was one of the more places where it was less likely that they would be recognised in any case. More isolated, perhaps.
So I guess I would be looking intently at the party and wondering if anyone's going to make a move, sitting quite still.
Well, I think we'd introduce ourselves using the pseudonyms. And Severin will be quite friendly. Come over and go and shake his hand, if he accepts it. He looks friendly enough.
So just couldn't get a friendlier looking chap, could you? He would take Severin's hand and introduce himself. My name's Yotto, nice to meet you. Bearded Santa, I believe he called himself. Told me I might meet colleagues here who shared a similar goal. I'm guessing you or them.
Quite possibly. What's your goal, sir?
Without knowing more about you, it'd be good to know where your general allegiances lie. Fair to say, mine do not lie with the enemies to the south.
I think that's yes, that we would be in concurrence there. We're generally in favour of the order of things.
But you turn to Severin, who's speaking to him, and say, are you the leader of your band?
I wouldn't go so far as that, but I've certainly got the biggest mouth.
He said, smile wryly and say he'd followed Biden's cell of the Circle of Iron to Jewel Island for the purpose of achieving one of his goals. Much to his dismay, he was an awful leader. Now he finds himself again sitting, wondering where to next, although Bearded Santa clearly suggested that you might be people with whom I shared a common interest. What is it that brings you to Osot?
Did you say you're on Jewel Island?
I was on Jewel Island.
Just
About
recently?
2 months ago.
2 months. Ah, what did you find there?
We were sent to Jewel Island, led by Barden Searle, the Circle of Iron, sent here to capture a weapons cache from our enemy. Unfortunately, the circle of comrades I found myself with were rather more interested in the promise of gold than the real reasons for being there. That led to a rather disastrous outcome for us. And despite being put in the brig when I managed to make it to one of 3 ships, kindly happy Santa let me out, dressed, fed me, and left me here and told me I would find colleagues who shared a similar interest, and I presume this is you?
I think you'd be correct in that assumption. However, 2 months ago, so we were in a very similar position. Not how long has it been? A week ago.
I can tell you. Point of reference, of course, Yotto. You haven't been in Osot all that time, of course.
No, I've only been here a couple of days.
Today is the 5th. The assault on the cave was the 2nd, 3 days ago.
Yeah, so we have just come from this very same place. And your description is startlingly familiar. Only this took place not 3 days ago.
I think I'd let you know that we were sent there some 2 months ago and rather disastrously attempted a raid on a cave with the goal of destroying a weapons cache. We didn't even make it to the cave, and indeed all of my colleagues were killed. I spent 2 months on that goddamn island simply trying to survive before utilising my rather appalling swimming skills to reach a boat. And so I've only recently arrived in Osot, having been delivered here.
Well, that sounds appalling. I'm sorry to hear that. We spent only a few days on Jewel Island. That was quite enough. We also assaulted the same cave that you speak of. However, we too were not entirely successful. However, we caught a bit of backup, and the deed was done eventually. It's curious you were sent on an identical mission 2 months before, however.
So were you one of the people who set off lights?
Correct.
Called the vessels? Haha. We were there sometime before that. We did not set off any lights and were totally unsuccessful. But I did get picked up by one of these ships.
A few days ago.
Just a few days ago.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it was a tall order to get into that cave for sure.
That's why I want to know. Are your key enemies Tikos?
Well, in this, Devin drops his voice and says, "Well, yep. I guess we've learnt to take care of how and when we mention such foes, and to whom. I don't mean to insult you, but yes, we have had dealings, but we have a necessity to be very cautious in the way we pursue them, and indeed make our way through this part of the world."
At which point I think he'd lower his voice and say, it's always a pleasure to meet the enemy of my enemy. My name's Yotto. My set crusade is to destroy Tikos and everything around it.
Well, I think
I'll do everything on my power to do that.
I think we'll get on just well. Do you want to join our party and just hang out for us?
Well, any enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine.
Yeah, well, Severin will go around. Probably we'll use the pseudonyms for now, but we'll just say, and these fellows go by the names of, so he isn't really particularly lying. And we'll list off those names. I can't remember. Nicholas is called, what are you called? Richard or something?
Or do people want to introduce themselves, maybe?
William? I don't know. I can't remember what you're called. Anyway, yes.
Do people want to introduce themselves, perhaps?
Off you go.
Nicholas would diffidently, would wait till last or whatever. So I wait till last.
By the way, languages. Who's speaking what? I just let that run because that was a nice little bit. But could you figure out who can actually speak to each other?
I'd be speaking in South Tongue, not very well.
Yeah.
Severin speaks 8, South Tongue 8, so that works.
Just speaks at 5.
Yeah, Jada's 8. That's cool.
And you're 6.
That's cool. Got the spinning wheel of death. Let's pick up. Yeah, 6. So yeah, he's good. I think as far as intro goes, Jada would just be quietly sort of looking very tall and nodding. And that's her thing. And then using her staff, probably just sort of prodding at the mess, the uncleanliness of the room, like prod in anticipation of something running out from underneath.
Yeah, there are definitely a few rats. You can hear them occasionally.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Askell would probably just now Severin's broken the ice. Askell would probably just roll forward with a big firm handshake and just introduce himself as Ascalion, or Askell for short.
Askell's a half elf, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yeah, so I think Yotto as an elf would embrace him, and I'd be particularly keen to see someone who looked a little like him.
Oh, nice.
And might say to him, "Nice to see you, my friend," and would say that to him in Stanadrum, their elf speech. I don't know if he speaks that, but that's what he'd probably do.
Yeah, Askell will smile, look blankly, no idea what he just said, and then step back.
Tanya would reply, language of the grey.
You'd say indeed, indeed, and
Sidarin, and then would also say something in Bethatur and Quenya just to see if he understood as well. They're 2 native tongues.
No, he wouldn't respond to either of those.
And where do you hark from? She'll say in Sindirian.
And I guess Yotto would say, "Do your colleagues understand Sindirian? It would be polite to speak in a language we can all understand, although it is lovely to meet a fellow speaker."
Tanya smiles, and says in Sindirian very well, and then continues in South Tongue.
Okay. At which point I think he'd say, "My name's Yotto. I come from Yeve originally."
Where's that?
Yeve is one of the eastern. Can you bring up a map, Chris? And you need to pan out a bit. And can other people see I guess you can't. Could you? Yeah, there we go. If you just pan in there. Yep. But I think would say I come from one of the eastern clan-like places, and I'm going to struggle with my pronunciation here. Chris, do you want to help me? This is where my specific reading disorder doesn't help.
Sure. Of the colony that you're from?
No,
Nominjazaki. It's a colony of one of the 3 great powers, one of the Confederation of the Sun Kush. It's in the Sea of Katana, and it's here.
Thank you. So I think Yotto would say I come from Noa Zanjani, from the Sankush. I've spent most of my life there, although moved around, mostly because of the destruction of our lands caused by Tikos and the supporters that they have. And where do you guys come from?
Well, she will say, well, I'm from the north. and from a place called Jebamabeth. And our friend here, Severin, he's even more from the north. The place far away called Tama.
So I think Yotto would nod and say, I know nothing of the north. His language is pretty basic. I really know only of the Sand Kush in my lands, although I have a new goal because of what has happened to me and mine. And that is the destruction of all around.
Nicholas would, I suppose it's his turn to introduce himself. He would introduce himself as Thomas Tallis and, diffidently, and greet Yotto and express sympathy for the circumstances. He'd explain he's from the Thracian kingdom of Rasnarba, to the island kingdom, to the north again, west, and he would politely say, what happened to you and your family, and anyone in particular that you're focusing on in your quest against the Tikos.
So I think Yotto would smile at him warmly and introduce himself again. My name is Yotto. As you can tell, I'm not human, but grew up amongst the realms of men and have a strong affiliation for them. You asked a question about my mortal enemy. That would be the Committee of the New Age. Fundamentally, my life will have meaning if I kill Paulvath Papillus. The reason for that is he killed my family.
I think we get on just swell.
Nicholas will let Yotto see him react to that name, I suppose.
Okay, and I guess Yotto would say...
Or he'll look at the rest of the group and, raise an eyebrow or something. He's... I think... Yeah.
Have you met this man?
And I think Yotto would answer no. I know nothing or little of him other than he is the ultimate leader of the group who sentenced my father to death and hung him simply for being a humble comb maker. And that is good enough for me. My goal here is to see his demise. And he'd probably be pretty closed in his body posture. He'd be open in his speech. And possibly there would be held back tear in his eye at these words.
And that's very interesting. This person is known to us. Do you know? Have you intel on his location?
I don't, but if you can find him, I want to find him. If you want to harm him, I want to harm him more. Do you know where he is?
Not exactly, but we've been broadly following him as best we can.
And I think here I'd ask, do you trust Happy Santa? He's a bearded man, picked me up on the boat, full of information, took me out of the brig, told me I would meet you, clearly knows the Mon Men. I trust that he is the enemy of the Committee of the New Age, Tikos and all they stand for. Is this someone who you recognise?
It would appear so, yes.
Okay. And he's your friend?
He's very friendly, and he's been good to us. He is, however, in service to some people who, as you would put it, are enemies of our enemies, and people we don't really know. A friend would be pushing it, but he's certainly someone who's helped us and someone we are friendly with, and who's certainly been good enough to bring us here with an aim to going forth and on a mission which I suspect will align with yours.
So I think I'd turn to Severin who's speaking, yeah?
Yeah.
And say, thank you, and I understand your guardedness. I spent many years in the way of Dio, and possibly don't quite share your caution, however clearly seem to share your anger. And if your goal is the destruction of the Committee of the New Age, the death of Vipalas, and all that they stand for, I'd be delighted to join you in seeking the end of your mission.
Well, as it happens, we've got a vacancy.
No interview? No reference check?
Nicholas will.
Just need to see your nipples, and then we're off.
Yeah, that's a tough call. You're not. You can look at my hands and face, but you're not going to miss chest.
I'll hand it over to you for the interview, I think.
Nicholas would just be. I mean, Nicholas would see the direction we're heading, and he would make a comment something along the lines of, "It looks like we are aligned, and perhaps you'll, join us on our next couple of legs of our quest." What skills? What skills can you bring to enhance our group?
I think Yotto would be really open here. Much of my earlier life was spent in the East. I've spent my time thinking and meditating and learning the ways of the sword, at which point he'd draw his nodaki and show that to others.
Do you have a picture handy, Giles?
Oh, do you have a picture handy? Because I don't.
Maybe I can find one.
You can actually see it on his back there, well, at least the handle of it. It's a long, narrow, single-edged, so about 3 feet, single-edged sword, double-handed, built a bit like a samurai sword, as you would see it. And he'd tell them, much of my early life was spent training with Razor, mostly because I loved my mother, the first of the great women samurai. There we go. Look at that. It's an excellent picture. Thank you very much, Chris.
You've got Severin's attention. He's just something of a sword enthusiast, so he's going to ask if he can, if he minds, just we'd quite like to look at it.
So I think Yotto would look at him closely and say he'd be happy for him to look and share the feel of his sword, maybe in a short while. I would leave the sword on his knees.
Okay. But yeah. But Severin will laugh and say, yeah, he understands.
Okay. He'd explain to him he particularly loves using Razor. And Razor's good at reminding people who is in command. He'd explain to him he's also spent much time training with his copper hammer, a war hammer, which he'd gently take out from behind him, and it probably would not have been seen by the party. And so a copper warhammer, again, might look a little unusual to you. He'd say, this is a common crushing weapon from where I worked, and such my early life training with it under the care of my mother. I've also spent much of my time learning to trade with my father. A humble homemaker. And so had the rare pleasure of both combining the fun of death with the delights of learning how to sell in my early life. So I can bring these things to your party. Later in my life, I've discovered some other talents and worked to train on them, and so may be able to offer you many things, my sword, and possibly some spells, if they're directed towards my enemies.
Oh, that sounds impressive.
But I think at this point, if he's looking at Severin and Severin's looking duly reverent at his sword, he'd kind of nod and suggest with his non-verbal communication, Severin could pick up Razor to check its awesome balance.
That's exactly what he wants to do, actually. He holds it with two hands, exactly balances the hilt on his hand, looks at the smithy work, and is presumably duly impressed, and hands it back and said it's a beautiful blade.
Haskell would probably like to check Razor out as well, having compare it to his cutlass.
I think he'd hand it over to Haskell, and he'd asked in return to have a look at their blades. And would do the same, check the balance, check the weights, and see what they're like to move through the air.
So yeah, Askell would obviously whip out his ornate cutlass and duly hand it over.
At which point I think Yotto would look at both Severin and Askell and say, I think we'll be good friends.
Is that's the interview then? Oh, I don't know. We should ask a few more questions. Where do you see yourself in 5? No.
Are we going to talk pay scales? Yeah.
Do you come with your own dental?
That's exciting. And a bit of have some magical skills as well.
I've had the rare pleasure, of course. One of the strange things as a grey elf growing up amongst humans is many of my friends and colleagues aged much faster than I did in my early life. A combination of that and the destruction of my homes took me to pursue my natural talents for magic, of which I've learnt many, largely around the control of our environment.
Sounds intriguing.
And yes, again, these are used in the destruction of my enemies. They're used to a good cause.
Well, you sound very useful indeed. And I don't know, Nicholas, do you want to speak a little bit more about what our next steps should be?
What's wrong with your face? They wouldn't really.
So I think if Nicholas asked them that, Yotto would scowl.
No, he wouldn't.
He would say that is a fair question.
No, he would. I mean, if the picture is true, that looks like a fresh wound. He might well sort of nudge Jada. And so, is it a fresh wound? Is it like that sort of? Is his face scarred like that?
Yes, yeah, his face is scarred like that.
Oh well, then he would be nudging Jada and sort of wanting to hint to her that perhaps he might want some assistance. If he would perhaps murmur to Jada that maybe she needs to offer him some help and ask him how he got his, what happened to him. That's what he. He's very, very poor misdirected. Well, asking other people to do things for him, Nicholas is.
So Jada would have already been leaning in with her ET-like finger to, similar but more, I guess, not as what happened to your face, but more of that caring sort of tone to it, like, oh, you are hurt. Would you like me to help or heal you? That is my skills.
Which I think Yotto would look at her and would obviously be pained, but would also draw away quite considerably and say, you are clearly the enemy of my enemy. Therefore, you're my friend. Dyer tells me if we are friends, we're trustworthy. And no, you cannot cure this for any wish. These are the scars given to me by the murderers of my father, and they will forever look fresh until my father's murderers are killed. And that is my primary goal. I do not wish them cured, I do not wish them healed, I do not wish them removed until balance is brought and my father's death is revenged. They will remain in the face.
Yeah, Jada would be just solemnly nod and just say, we all carry our scars and we keep them upon us, and then just step back.
I think Yotto would acknowledge the understanding and would accept it, and would probably say, you also a follower of Dyer?
To Jada?
Yeah, to Jada.
No, I follow the faith of our M.E.R.P.
A faith I understand and like, and he'd nod and accept that and move on.
Nicholas would be happy to, perhaps while they were messing with swords, Nicholas would have been clearing a bed for himself and sort of fussing with clearing rats out and finding a place. But once there's this lull, he'd be happy to step back in and just sort of want to share a bit of what's happening next. Our friend Happy Santa is obviously, and his connection of people are obviously very good at making arrangements all over the world. Our next moves are that we will be travelling to. We're telling you this, and it seems like you're joining us, to Jibai to continue some of our business there, very briefly, and then our information is that Torvish Papillus, and he'll wait to see Yotto's reaction, I assume, is somewhere in the region of Ras Garrett to the southwest, near Dransfeld or in that area, and is seeking to find further information for his plans for the New Enlightenment Union in ruins in that area. Our next step, arranged by Happy Santa's friends, is for us to travel to Rasgarret and then find further information there about the ruin that we are seeking.
So I think at the mention of Torvish, Yotto's hands would involuntarily close on his sword, which possibly would have been lying on his knee or returned to him. At the mention of where he is, that sword would probably flick upward, possibly somewhat scarily close to others. And I think at the possibility that they might actually know where he is, Yotto would clearly lean forward eagerly and ask if the party would be so kind as to let him join and let him know he has information, because in his village where he moved, the village of Haggai, the village where his twins were killed, Torvish Papillus sent people looking for information about devil dust and the hammer of the new age. And if there's anything he can do to assist in his downfall, he'd be delighted to be doing that.
Nicholas would confirm that is indeed what we believe he is looking for in these ruins of some alchemical tower, some vague ruins. So seems we're well met.
At which point I think Yotto would say, "We are not just the enemy of my enemy, but you also appear to be my friends." And yet, our goals clearly are aligned.
What do you know of devil dust?
And I think vast about devil dust, or the hammer of the new age, Yotto would explain that in his village in Haggai, it was strongly committed to Dio, the ways of peace, the ways of inner discovery, the ways of healing, and although he followed the ways of the sword after his mother, the great woman Samurai, he also spent some time understanding Dio. In Haggai was the Celestial Library, small, strange, unusual, but with unusual information, and it appears as if the followers of Torvish destroyed his town simply to try and ransack the library. He'd explain he's not a learned man. Indeed, speaking is not his strength, and reading is beyond him mostly. But his understanding is that despite the destruction that they caused, they found no information, which in no way reduces his desire to return the favour to Torvash for the destruction he's caused to him. He knows of these words, but very little of what they mean, or how they might be of use, although he appears not, and his village appear not to have provided any further information to Papillus. And I think he'd apologise for not being able to be of more help.
Well, no, I mean, our knowledge is very limited. But no, that certainly corresponds with the kind of person we're dealing with. No, I mean, I think we'd be more than happy to have another sword at our side with what awaits us, I'm sure. We had another loyal companion who'd been with us for, well, many months. He's gone his own way, and so we're half elf down for sure.
I think he'd be happy to offer a whole elf in return to offer his sword to the company. And certainly, if there's some support for helping him find some mechanism to support his magic, he might be able to bring that to bear as well.
What do you mean? Are you lacking spells?
I think he'd say, my knowledge is great, my power to use them is weak. And so if I could find a way to develop my powers to use my spells more often and more frequently, I might be of considerable value to your company.
Have you searched this town for an appropriate item?
I've just arrived. I've literally sat here for 2 days waiting for you. I've not stepped outside these doors.
And would you say that you are known by the people you seek, you follow, that you're looking for?
I think known very poorly. I doubt they would recognise me other than possibly my father's executioner, the captain of the guard who arrested my father and the company in the town of Haggai. I doubt I'm known the new Enlightenment Union, Turang, or indeed Tikos or any of the pre-pub nation at all. So my suspicion is I'm unknown. And that, I think, helps me in my mission.
Right. What do the rest of you think of that?
Nicholas will whisper to Severin. What sort of a power enhancement does he need of the gods, of the mind, or of the elements?
Sounds like the elements. We'll ask him.
And I think it's a die would tell me to tell you. I have some control of the elements. However, it's not so much the control is limited, the capacity to use that control.
So we need an essence multiplier.
Yeah.
Boo for metagaming.
I think Yotto would say, I have no idea what you're talking about. No, Nicholas wouldn't actually say that, but that's what Nicholas was aiming for.
And I think Yotto would also say, it's important if we're friends, and the way would tell me that the key element is trust. I have made the decision to trust you, and so trust you I will completely until you show me I should not. Easily gained, difficult once lost.
Anything else from Askell or Nicholas or anybody really, or Tanya?
How tall is Yotto? I assume he's standing up. Well, he is because he's chatting us. How tall is he?
I can tell you. Just give me 1 second. He's not sure. Yeah, 6'7". He a tall dude.
Rake Finn.
Yeah, thin, weird-looking, angular, obviously elvish. Can't hide that. Pointy ears, scarred face. You're a weird-looking guy.
Yeah. So yeah, him and Askell would have been. Jadar would have been looking eye to eye.
Yep. And he'd certainly look at Askell and recognise the elven features and like.
Who's the tallest? Jadar and Yotto would be the tallest in the group. Severin is the shortest, I think. Or is Nicholas?
Yeah, Severin's not tall. I think he's only about 5'10" or something.
Nicholas is 5'8" and slender.
Askell's 6'4", Jadar's 6'7".
Though, of course, as we told, Yotto was sitting on his bed, and there's no reason for him. This whole conversation will have occurred while he's seated, and he has a tall frame, but
Well, a thing seemed to be settling that Nicholas would be. Oh, sorry. Can I jump way back to the boat trip? By the way.
Sure. Yep.
I did put a message in the chat that Nicholas is well down on hits when we started our boat trip. He would have approached Jada for some regeneration if he's willing.
I would assumed as
She's
much. Yeah, over to Jada, but I had assumed as much as well.
Yeah, she would. Obviously, it's on the same day.
Whoops.
Yeah, do we want to do that now? It would have been regeneration 1, reduces target's concussion hit damage by 1 hit every round as long as the caster concentrates. So
Mural?
Sounds good for a long boat trip.
On a boat.
Only a failure on a 1 or a 2.
Roll some dice. We haven't rolled any dice tonight. 50.
Ooh.
Right down the middle.
Thank you very much.
Nicholas, you are feeling a lot better. Full hits.
Yeah, they'd be very grateful. I'd say, yeah, Nicholas is feeling like we've met Yotto and we're sort of feeling like we're on the same page and have come to an understanding. So he's happy to sort of just sit around, keep chatting, but sort of make a space on the bed, like tidy up the room actually a bit.
Jada would be all along with that, like sanitising type, breaking out the wipes and.
Probably burning the place down is your best form of sanitation, but yep, okay. So you do your best to.
I think if we're, it must be late now. Is it late now, Chris? It must be like bedtime.
Yeah, maybe not bedtime, but certainly well past nightfall. Yeah.
So I might suggest we retire downstairs to eat. Suggest that it's great that we have food provided for us before we retire. And so we can go down and eat the delicious food. Is it Roldan has prepared for us? I can't remember his name.
We didn't get the guy's name, Mr. Surly.
Yeah, who Yotto doesn't think is surly. But yeah, I might retire downstairs for dinner before retiring.
We'll just call him Matt.
Matt.
Yep. Yeah, we could. Yep.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. So you would favour going out and trying to find a enhancement of some description in this place?
If you're asking me, Yotto would say no, not tonight. Late.
No, not tonight. I mean, before we move on from here.
Yotto would say I'm used to starving and living off nothing above my head. In these luxury quarters, delights beyond my usual wares. I've spent many times sleeping on the street. It would be great to shop like a rich man, but that's beyond my means.
Right. Well, yeah, okay. It won't respond to that just yet, but right, okay. And have you got much out of Matt in terms of what lies ahead, other than you were just waiting for us?
The man chooses not to speak, and I choose to respect his silence. Yes, so no.
Okay. Is there anything we need before we move on from this place? And Nicholas, you were saying we needed to go back to the big city. Do we need to?
Yeah, to buy return to do the banking.
That was. Have we not already cashed them in?
No, I'm pretty sure we didn't. But definitely the unidentifiable metallic type.
We've still got the mithril ones, yeah.
Yeah, the mithril ones. They're the only ones, right? The rest of them we cashed in, though, right?
You left the ingots in the bank. You either left the cash in the bank or the ingots in the bank. I can't remember. You didn't take the cash with you. You definitely left the sum of. I think you did change them. I'd have to go back and.
I found those notes, which would infer that we did, but.
Yeah, but you didn't take the money with you because you didn't take. You definitely have not done a trip back to the bank. So you might have exchanged them, got the money, and then deposited that in the bank. But there is definitely the bulk of your finances. What you supplied recently, Graham, is still in the bank in Jebbai Ritana.
All right.
Hang on, just to double check. Was it then all spent, and people only had 165 gold on the back of it? Oh, maybe. Hang on. Yeah, let me just check that.
Well, we spent quite a lot on. We bought 3 PowerPoint multipliers, I think, and
Magic scrolls,
and then
That's
a lot
right.
of poison relief, which is in that thing I sent through.
That's right.
The gold is added to the players on the XP sheet, so I didn't.
Maybe we didn't.
Yeah. So in terms of being able to buy another PowerPoint multiplier, I don't know that we've got the readies for that.
I scanned the thing you very very helpfully sent through, Graham, on my phone. I didn't read that in full. Yeah, PowerPoint multiplier was bought. That was bought for Jadar. The antidotes you bought. There was the balance, and then you've kindly split the balance between each character for 169 gold, 16 silver, and 48 bronze. If you've already spent it, maybe you did take it out of the bank. Maybe I'm wrong. It would lead to, I would assume that's more likely, actually. But give me some guidance, guys. It's only going on my memory. Yeah.
Well, I'm only going on those. I'm going on those notes. I mean, so that was my assumption that we wouldn't have left any in the bank because we'd spent most of it.
Which seems to make sense, right?
But we did maintain the strange, the metal that couldn't be identified. We still had those because we couldn't get any. We couldn't find anyone who knew what the hell it was.
That's right.
I wonder if we should have that made into something just to see what it does.
Yeah. Had that money not been spent, I would say categorically, it would still be in the banks of Jebbai Ritana. But the fact that it's been spent and you've each got 179, my guess is that perhaps there is no money in the bank. And in a prior episode, you did go and you did take it out. I just for the life of me, I can't remember. Giles, obviously this is well before you joined.
Can't remember either, but that actually sounds right by me.
Well, yeah, since we actually did the sums there in terms of actually did everything else by character, so it's all there, like what we got the gold and the copper and the rest of it.
Yeah.
For I think probably. So we're not flush by any means. I mean, we've got, but if you, well, taking Grey out of the equation, we've got about 1,000 GP between us.
Yeah. Oh, we're poor. Just poor.
GM's going to head to the loop back in a tick, but suddenly, if that summation is correct, then I'll have a quick think about it. But I'm pretty damn sure now that you say it, Graham, and now that it is split out like that, that it would seem to me that there isn't money back in the bank. But have a quick chat while I'm on the heading to the loo and getting a drink, and we'll pick it up in a sec.
And so, my recollection from the bits I've heard, it was the point of going to Jebbai Ritana was to take money out of the bank, right?
Yeah.
But also that the link are linked to do that. So you're going to have to go to Jebbai Ritana and then move on. Is that right?
No.
I reckon we would. If on reflection we just got it wrong. We had got all our money. Then I'm sure we can just dial back that going to Gibraltar a bit. I'm sure Chris will be fine with that. Surely,
Yeah, there's no point doing that.
unless anyone else has need to go.
I mean, it's not like we can. I mean, in regard to the PowerPoint multiplier, Giles, that one we've got Jada cost 900 and something GP. So you'd get a better price for it for sure than we got.
Well, so what I don't want to do is game the game. What I do want to do is try and reflect how Yotto would
Yeah, I get it.
express himself as an honest kind of that he's taught essentially to be a lot less cautious than a lot of people, right? And that's the reality. He's got magic, but it's going to be gone in a second. As it so happens, he got a lot of it. That's a lot better than it should be. So he rolled badly for lots of stuff, but incredibly well for that. And that's just kind of where he's at. So, he would, I presume, know that, and because he's slightly too oversharing, would be happy to tell you. So I think Chris is wrong. I'm not trying to game the game here. I'm trying to play the character. Yeah. So I don't think everyone should be like, "Oh my God, we need to find him a power." That's just how he is. It's And by the way, thank you very much for your advice re character build. Hopefully it will be helpful for the team.
Looking forward to playing him.
He should be a lot of fun to play. Like, he's weird. So, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. So should tick the weird box. I've already got Chris to do a whole bunch of homework and shit he's never done before.
That's just odd skills.
Yeah, well, you just pull in a bit of Eastern. You got to read the whole book in memory.
Oh man, right.
Nice. Poor bastard. That's
Pete, just an aside. I went back and where I found that information, I also discovered that we picked up a +10 short bow, or at least Hero did.
Thank you. I've added that. I did see that message. Sorry to not respond. I have added that to my to the tracking sheet. Thank you.
The only thing is whether that's magic or just +10 for being well made.
It was from Ningwen, was it?
Yes.
Yeah, I think we didn't find anything magical there. I think it was just all.
Okay.
But also, for the life of me, I don't know where I wrote it down, but I definitely know that Nicholas had the wand, the signalling wand from the other team. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'd seen a message from Chris asking where it was. Definitely he had it, because it was him and... Who? Mithan? Who were doing the questioning? In the forest after that battle?
Yeah.
And we found the map, and we found the signalling wand, the beacon wand of and Nicholas would have held on to those.
Well, look, it's on the sheet. There it is.
Oh yes, the signal rod. I did ask about that. What?
Yes, sorry to not respond. Nicholas definitely had it. I hadn't written it down.
Okay,
I know I'd written it somewhere. But,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. All right. Yeah. What's the consensus? Bank, no bank.
No bank.
No bank.
I have a feeling no bank. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, I mean,
in which case, do we cancel Jebbai Rotana, our request for it?
Well, would you have made it in the first place?
No.
No, we wouldn't. If we didn't need to go there for the bank, because we had spent the money, and we knew we didn't have money, then we wouldn't have made the request.
Right. So, by the power vested in by me, what's that?
Grayskull?
Yeah, exactly. By the power of Grayskull.
Power of Grayskull.
By the power of Grayskull.
Gray's gone.
Yes. Oh. None of that conversation happens. What would your instruction would have been to go to Osot to do to then travel to where?
harass Garrett.
Okay. Okay, great. Cool. And can I just quickly, but importantly, do this? To acknowledge Graham and his very diligent note and record keeping. Every single role-playing group needs a Graham, someone to actually keep the record straight. And thank you, Graham, for your just keeping track of stuff, because that was really, really useful to actually have that information to hand, where that money was, how it had been spent, etc. Thank you. Makes the GM's life a zillion times better. It's late. There are chickens scratching in the mud and the filth outside. The rain is coming down. There are holes in this roof you're perhaps not too surprised to hear in certain places. The rats are kind of squeaking and scurrying out of the ways of your boots and your staff, etc., trying to clear them away. You've done a bit of a job to try to clean this cesspit up, and presumably, look, Yotto, I'm sure, would have done something as well, perhaps. Oh, I better cancel those because they're a little bit on the... Which one are they? Damn it, I missed them. Must be those ones. Yes, it's definitely well into the dusk is well and truly gone. It's now night. There's not a hell of a storm outside, but there's certainly some thunder, as you just heard. And yes, it's just been raining all day. You've met Yotto. Some of you have fondled his sword. You've acquainted yourselves a bit with him, and you've shared perhaps a common interest and a common threat. What do you all do now, please?
Well, it's late. Probably turn in, right?
Yotto's going for dinner, and would advise them to come.
Dinner
And then we'll turn in.
Yep.
Example of the local cuisine.
Okay. You head back downstairs. The dining area, communal area, eating area, whatever you want to call it, hasn't improved much with low lighting, but maybe a little. Your host, he's actually not sour necessarily. He's not necessarily unpleasant. He just doesn't seem to want to say a lot. And again, he's got this very, very strangely accented Thebronic. You make your wishes known to him, and he comes out and serves surprisingly palatable food. It's not sumptuous. It's certainly not amazing, but looking at the state of the place, all of you were kind of dreading what might come out. Although Yotto, you've already sampled some of the cuisine. He brings out some pretty decent black bread, kind of like a fish soup with some mussels and clams and other shellfish and bits of fish in it. It's actually pretty reasonably tasty. And brings out some watered ale, some cheese, and a little bit of kind of cured meat. As I said, he doesn't appear to want to engage in conversation, but he's not rude. Brings out, he nods to you. You get a slight smile out of him on one occasion. He nods and heads out and closes the door unless anybody stops him or says anything to him. Okay, you fall about the food. Probably for Team Twilight, you would have eaten on the ship with no name. There was certainly no lack of sustenance on that vessel. In fact, it was pretty plentiful. But it's been a reasonably long voyage, tedious, and at times more than a little bit nerve-wracking. Peering off to your right as you sail down into the slime and the green horror of the green festa, the alamang, vast, hellish swamp, some of you perhaps shudder a little and pray to whatever gods that you know are good for what may happen to your friends in the hero party that will soon be, as you understand at least, perhaps heading into that horrible mess. Very pleased you're not. You consume the rest of your meal chatting, perhaps speaking a bit more with Yotto, finding out a little bit more about him. What's his appearance, by the way? Charles? What's out of 100? Is he attractive or not attractive?
So from a numbers perspective, he not super attractive, 66.
Yep.
He's a pretty unassuming dude.
Whoa, that's not bad.
Very low presence. So he doesn't really light up a room.
Compared to Tarquin, yeah, he unassuming. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not great.
Yep. You have the rest of your meal. Perhaps Twilight pauses to reflect on some of the places that you've stayed over your time together, be it everything from the Golden Strip, where the first whispers of this terrible tale that you've been caught up in first happens, all the way through to the jungles of Gaul, to various places around the Sea of Katana, the in-between, Jebai Ritana, Jewel Islands, Landaina, and now here. And you think back to the very sumptuous accommodation you had in Jebai Ritana, and you kind of look around you a little bit, and perhaps some of you might sigh inwardly. After you've eaten, what do you do?
Actually, sorry, Chris. Nicholas would have eaten reasonably quickly and headed back upstairs.
Okay.
He intends to use, is it 4 hours for attunement before he goes to sleep?
Yes, okay.
Yep. He's going to be attuning the signaling rod, and he'll make sure it's, as much as possible, it's pointed downwards.
Okay. Okay, sure thing. So you head up and frankly, you could be doing that on the boat as well.
Stick under a pillow.
Yeah. Yep, true. Or on the boat, whatever makes sense. But he would want to be, pointing it downwards in case it misfires, so he's not sending a signal.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Nicholas does that. Others? Askell, Jada, Yotto, Tanya, Severin.
Severin will, be quite chatty, and we'll probably spin a few yarns and generally sort of try and lift the conversation a little bit, so it's not all kind of business. And we'll, just get to know the guy a bit and swap a few stories, that kind of thing.
Is Yotto likable, Giles? He's got a very low presence. What's he like?
Yotto would engage in that sort of conversation. He'd be sharing. I think it'd be pretty clear up front. He's being pretty straightforward. So you'll pick up pretty quickly that's his real name. You'll pick up he's telling you real stuff about himself. I think if it was obvious from what Nicholas said and done that he was off to try and attune something, Yotto would express an interest in that. But other than that, I think he'd engage in conversation and let people know about him. Yep, and would be equally curious about the party members.
Others?
I think Jada probably would want to retire.
Okay.
And probably more from the go and sanitise the sleeping space.
Where's my flamethrower?
Yeah, just to rest.
Yep.
Obviously, a busy kind of couple of weeks, so mentally she's probably quite tired.
Yep.
Askell would be happy to join in the conversations and by rounds here and there and etc. and the joviality and get to know this new person, Yotto.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay.
Actually, can I just jump?
Hmm?
Sorry. Actually, so Nicholas would go upstairs to do the attunement thing, but perhaps on the boat he would have been. I don't know if the group came to a decision, but he would have asked Askell if Askell wanted to be taught about the shock bolt ring if it was going to Askell. So this is from the Flaming Sword guy. It's a +20 ring of shock bolt 3 times per day. Yeah, Nicholas doesn't know who has claimed that, if anyone has.
Oh, by the way, Tanya, an error on my part. Can you please roll a channeling resistance roll?
Yep.
Thanks.
Over dinner. Was it before?
No. This was when your feet stood on terra firma, so off the boat. So beforehand. I'm backtracking a little bit.
10.
Okie dokie. And you are level
8.
8, and your channeling is
-1.
Thank you. I'm just going to pop some stuff into your channel, Tanya, in a tick. But yeah, please, Pete, describe to me a little bit more about what you're doing or saying, or you were describing something. I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
Oh, not at all. Just Nicholas had shared with the party when we were back in Landaina that he had managed to attune the ring we got from the Flaming Sword guy, and that it was a +20 essence shock bolt ring, shock bolt 3 times a day, and he would have just shared that with I think both groups, but his thinking was that Askell seemed perhaps most appropriate to use it or attune it or have it, as he, I think, had a shock bolt skill. And Nicholas was just wondering if that's the decision that group has made, that Askell should get it. Did Askell want to them together to spend the time on the boat, Nicholas teaching him to attune it? That's the question.
As Askell, you've got a shock bolt skill?
Yep, yeah, he can do shock belt with one of his spells, but only if the group was happy. He's not fussed either way.
It just means three shock bolts a day. You don't have to spend power points on, and they get +20 to the attack roll.
Yeah. And nobody else has directed spells, do they?
Well, Kyros did, but she was dead at the time, and Mithan did, but she's not very. Wouldn't want it. So, yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yep. So, did you want to do that, Askell? Perhaps.
Yeah.
Whilst on the boat.
If that was, we didn't leave it with the hero party.
No.
Yep. Askell's happy to hang around and attune and.
Yeah. If we say that happened on the boat, then Nicholas can do his attuning of the signalling rod at night. Perhaps.
Okay. Very good. Sanya, something. Your channel now. Going back to that request, absolutely. So on the boat, was there a roll on the boat or a roll when you both got to the to the length of time, by the way, that it takes to teach someone else is role dependent. So let's find out how long that took. Did you get a complete success or a partial success, Nicholas?
Complete.
Sorry. Success or
success.
Yeah,
success, not complete success.
Yeah. What's the other term? But I've only played this for 35 years. Absolute success.
Yeah, I think absolute. Yeah, no, it was a normal. He
cool.
got it. It wasn't anything spectacular.
So let's see how long it takes, Nicholas, for you to teach Askell how to use it. It's a 1d8. It'll either take an hour for you to teach him how to use it, and then Askell will need to spend as long as he wishes to try to use it. But at 4 hours, Askell doesn't get a penalty. So let's see who wants to roll to see how long that took. Either Askell or Nicholas. Who wants to roll a 1d8 in hours?
Oh, Anthony.
Let me do it. Okay.
Yeah.
8. 5 hours.
5 hours. So pretty much, yeah, exactly the time that it took to leave the port of Landaina and then make your way down to the miserable little town of Osot. That took the entire time, and that was the entire time of you on the boat. Chat quietly under your kind of low voices, you teaching, so you wouldn't have had the chance to have attuned for that period of time, Pete. So Askell, you'll now have 75 plus 75 to roll to your spell attunement roll. If you spend less than an hour preparing for anybody, it's negative 20. If you spend between 1 to 4 hours of attuning, it's plus 0, and you get a plus 5 for more than 4 hours of attuning. Now that needs to be entire. That time is not chatting with companions or whatever. That is actually singularly focused, looking at and thinking about that object and trying to get your head around that object. So there are 2 possible attunement rolls there. Who do you tell me who does what, when, how? Please.
I assume Eskel will be doing that tomorrow because they're out boozing tonight.
Cool. So Nicholas and Eskel will do that tomorrow, and if Nicholas does his attunement himself tonight for 4 hours, well, he left in it early.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. So before you go to sleep tonight, Nicholas, give me an attunement roll, please. This is plus 5 for preparing. You also get a plus 20 because you know what the spell and ability is. What realm are you again, please?
He's mentalism.
Right, so you do get that penalty.
Yeah.
It is different. Okay, give me a roll, please.
And that's a 12.
It's masked, of course.
Look.
Always masked. Okay, what's his attunement?
Plus 54.
Okay. Yeah, look, Nicholas, some success. You already have a sense, because you've used, actually, the other rod. No, it wasn't you, it was someone else.
Leif.
It was
Leif
Leif
did.
who used the other rods. I knew it was one of your multitude of characters. You have an intuitive feel for how to use the item, and you get your head around what it is and does. And yes, indeed, it is precisely as your former companion Leif told you. It casts this beacon enchantment spell. However, yeah, you're gonna have to leave it for a while before you come back to it. Some days at least, you think.
Okay, cool. Do I know how many days?
No, but I do. I should stop telling people how many days. But in a period of time, you can come back to it. You think you'll get it, in a number of days, not lots of days.
Okay, cool. I'll try and remember to keep trying.
Okay.
Cool, thank you.
Very good. That was later in the evening. What are people doing? The remainder of you.
I think Tanya would mention something that when she stepped ashore, she had a sensation that sounds very much like the one that Jada had when she touched the shore in the last place that they were in. When she touched the ground, that they will remember that some of them, 3 of them, had a strange mark that appeared on the palm of their hand, and I think that's Askell, Jada, and Tanya. Those characters will remember that. And it started to itch, and then it stopped. And then for a second, she saw flashes of light. And for just a brief second, she saw those black and white smoky tendrils wriggle around between the heads of Askell, Jada, and herself. And then they disappeared. So there's some clear connection between those three characters and the in-between that has not been shaken off. That is all.
The comet is, of course, brighter in the sky, as I've mentioned several times, as well.
So the mark on the palm is comet-shaped?
Don't know.
She looks at her palm.
What do you think it looks like?
Well, I don't know. Is that the picture there? Is that my palm?
Yes.
Ah, right, got you. Then it is indeed comet-shaped. Yes. Though, yes. So anyway, there you have it. Make of that what you will. Comet coming. Somehow connected to it.
Okay. Tanya shares that with you, and apologies for not remembering that earlier. You've now supped. What do you do?
Several will attempt to engage Matt in a bit of conversation if he's around.
Yeah, you hear kind of, you hear this. Fine, I want it. No. Just coming. There we go. Yeah, at the back you hear kind of clatter of cups and plates. Your host is clearly going about his business cleaning up, so he's around if you want to go and find him.
Yeah.
Yep.
Go and have a sort of chat and just try and sort of get some idea of like what next.
What do you say?
It's just bid him thank him for the food. It was gratefully received. It's very tasty, thank you. Friend, would you have any information of next steps?
Certainly. I'll tell you what I know. And he looks around. There's no one else. I meant to say earlier on, by the way, there's no one else in this place. It's just you, from what you've seen, and Yotto.
Yeah.
Yes, I was given my instruction just today, as it happens. I was to expect a group. I was to look after them here. I was to introduce them to another guest I had here. And in a few days' time, I'm told it's likely to be 4, 5, maybe 6. I'll get word, perhaps as little as 3, but as much as 6 or 7, maybe. I'm to take you to the navigator column here in Osot, and arrangements have been made to take you onwards. And I'll come back here and I'll continue Well, my life here in my lodging house. My plan.
Great. Well, that's good to know. So we have a couple of days before that happens.
At least 3, might be more.
Right. Okay. Thank you for that information. That's great. So, and in terms of this town, moving around this town, anything we should know?
Streets are quite muddy.
The what?
The streets are quite muddy. All this rain we've had.
Yes, but no reason for us to take any precautions while we're here.
I don't know who you are.
Fair enough. No, that's good. That's all right. Just a bit of local info. Good areas to avoid.
I'd stay clear of the red sunset. Gets a bit rough at times. It's a tavern. Few streets down, they have a fighting pit there, and it can get a bit rough.
What else can you tell us about town? What is there to see?
You've seen it.
Already, it's quite small then.
Yeah, we've got fish.
That is good.
Yeah. There's the dike. Old
Dykes.
Dead Man's Dyke, which keeps it's pruned every few years to try to keep the jungle away from encroaching. Nasty place, the Alamang. Do you know it?
I don't know. Have you been in it?
Fuck no.
No.
Not for a bag of gold to fill this entire room would I go to that place.
Why is that?
Oh, most people that go in don't come out again.
Really?
Yeah. So, many years ago, they tell of the Second War of Scarthus, right? And all of these undead hordes, right, came out from Scarthus, right? And they spread right across this land. 300, 400, 500, 600, I don't know, my grandfather's I don't know, grandfather's time. And there were men, like you and me, came. Well, actually not like you and me, those blue-skinned swine, those tattooed M.E.R.P people. A bit like your friend that just went upstairs just now. Bit like, look, same kind of face as him, apparently. I've seen a few occasionally. Evil men. Men that like taking heads. They came in under the service of Scarthus. But they weren't the worst. Oh, God, no. No, it was the unclean things. Whatever rose up in Scarthus, and no one knows what it was, but whatever rose up in Scarthus, the second time, I don't know when the first time was, I just know the Second War of Scarthus. Whatever rose up in Scarthus controlled undead power, they say. Could raise the dead and the rotting from the grave, armed them with sword and spear, set them against the living. And right through that fucking horrible swamp on our doorstep, they came. They wiped out the E138. Tarak Nev, gone, they say, gone. Probably good riddance, say a lot of people, but gone. And then they came right through here. Landaina, all the way down. They didn't make it as far as Ely. They never got to the desert dwarves. You'd be crazy to try to take on the dwarves in their halls of stone. But they certainly flattened every city in and around here, and they thrived in the Alamang. Ultimately, Scarthus was beaten back, and Landaina was reclaimed, and so was this place reclaimed. Tarak Nev and the E138 never were. And ultimately, the hordes of Scarthus dissipated. The blue men went back west to wherever they're from. And the undead, some of them at least, went wherever the undead go. But they say a lot of the undead stayed. Many of the undead still haunt the Alamang. I wouldn't go in there for all the money in the world.
Well, that's good to know. We don't intend to go there for certain. Did they ever attack the city?
No. No, not in my lifetime or my father's lifetime. There was every now and then hunting parties occasionally go out, only during daylight, of course, typically in the morning. But and they don't go far. But every now and then, every maybe year or so, some just don't come back. We hear sounds, terrible sounds, coming from the jungle.
Well, that's enough to tell me that I don't want to go in there. That's good to know.
Excuse me, I've got...
No, you carry on. Thank you again for dinner.
Not friendly, not rude, not unfriendly. Neutral would be a good description.
All right. We'll head back. And then, yeah, think about turning in, I guess.
Okay.
If several asked the group if there's anything they want to do while they're in town, because it looks like we're going to be here for 2 or 3 days at least. We've got, I think, a week of rations.
That week of rations was used up on Jewel Island.
How was it?
Yep. So you were on Jewel Island for...
Chris,
hang on. You're on Jewel Island for 1, 2, 3, 4 days. So no, you'll have 3 days left. Sorry, Giles, go.
Sorry, Chris. On the boat, we asked that all of our rations be replenished.
Yes,
so
you
we
did.
should have come here with...
Yeah. You had a lengthy discussion about it, but I never heard anybody actually getting off the boat. The only people that got off the boat in Landaina were Gray.
No, there weren't rations that were replenished off the boat. Everyone got rations replenished on the boat.
No.
It makes no difference to Yotto, but...
Yeah, you got you certainly got weapons replenished. You certainly got arrows, etc., stocked up on. But there was definitely talk about when you were on the ship with no name in Landaina Harbour about going into an outfitter and getting some various things, including, I thought, rations. But I don't think that happened. I mean, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But you got arrows replenished. And some of you picked up some a sword or two or a dagger or two, but I don't think you got anything. And the poisons, as mentioned, and those strange balls, but I don't believe you got rations. Tell me if I'm wrong.
No, I think we said there was an opportunity to do some shopping, and that's what we said. That was it.
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
No.
Yep, cool.
Oh, well, let's do ration shopping here.
Yeah. Well, now we've got somebody. It might. I mean, maybe our new friend could be persuaded to help out there.
Yeah.
So remember, for purchases under 5 gold, for the sake of moving the story on, no need for a roll, no need to roleplay it. So, yeah, you can just simply get out. So long as someone can, at least one person can speak the local language, which is Thebronic, you can make purchases.
So
Okay.
Yotto has rations and won't be shopping. He doesn't need to.
All right. Well, we probably need a week's rations then, right? Yep.
Yeah, Jada would be happy to, if there's a group of going out to.
He'd happily take
Well.
the money and go and buy them, but
Yeah. It sounds like we don't need to play it out. I'm just saying that we'll get a week's rations. Everyone's happy with that.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So that evening, does anybody else do anything else for that evening?
No.
Nope.
Well, I don't.
Okay.
No, same for Jada. Just happy to.
Cool.
She's probably still cleaning the room, burning things, killing rats.
That's cool.
Yep. No, he'd just be hanging out, just waiting, really,
Okay.
for the next move.
Okay, sure. So the next day, talk me through your plans.
Right. So, is there anything actually we want to achieve before we leave? We've got food. We think we're pretty well equipped. I mean, we've got sort of emergency nutrition. We've got insect repellent for 10 days. We've got resistance against disease. We've each got 3 stun berries. We've got some carefree mustard each to heal some hits. And then Jada has got a lot more herbs that we purchased. Stun relief, a lot of healing stuff. So I think we're pretty well. For burns, fracture, bone, stops bleeding, cartilage, heal rate, stun relief, major heal wound, quite a lot going on there. Then we've got, Nicholas has got some poison antidotes. Anecdotes. Tell us about
Oh, doesn't he?
Those two.
and yeah, so we're pretty well stocked, I'd say. We haven't got loads of cash. I don't know if it's worth looking around for items here because I don't really think we've got the money to buy them. Unless anyone feels differently.
Agree.
No, I think Asker would just be, if it's the next day, he'd want to just sit down and chill and attempt the attuning over the day.
So yeah, I mean, do we just? I mean, I don't know if that's an option, GM, but do we want just to accelerate this bit, or
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Anybody got anything?
Yeah, I'm very happy to click fast. I just don't. I never want to move stuff on if people are wanting to do things. So I guess any calls, or I can do a bit of narration. Other than Askell, which I think is going to make an attunement roll. No, I'm taking that as a no.
Nicholas would want to try tuning every day on the
Okay.
wand thing as well.
Yep. No joy over the period of time I'm going to talk you through.
would Nicholas let Yotto know what he's doing?
No, Nicholas would tend to probably, especially for the moment, keep that a bit to himself. He's not super secretive about it, but he wouldn't share it. I mean, if Yotto saw him doing it and asked about it, Nicholas would share.
He absolutely wouldn't intrude. Okay, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
So no, over the period of time that I'm going to narrate, Nicholas, no, nothing. You could try, nothing happens. Okay, could I have the attempted attunement roll for Askell, please? You do get a very healthy plus 75 to this roll.
84.
80. It is master, unfortunately.
No, boo.
Boo. Yeah, boo. Oh. Can you roll it again, please, Askell?
Oh. Stop giggling.
That
25.
better be good, Chris.
Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay.
Haskell's head fries.
Can you roll again, please, Askell?
Whoa. Huh? 87.
Can you roll again, please, Askell?
Do one of Alex's tricks and not put the D in. 73.
Negative 75. Okay. All right. Okay. So this happens the next morning. So
Yeah, just
yep.
Just get up and sit down and give it a crack.
So you're attuning the shockbolt ring.
Correct.
And you're sitting up there, and you're sitting on this bed, and you're fumbling with it. And look, Nicholas has given you. Nicholas, here, just before I describe this, because I just want to be doubly, triply sure. That. Do you have those rolls again, please? I think it was an 84 followed by a 25. Is that right?
Yeah.
Followed
Yeah. 84,
by 25.
25, 87, 73.
87. Thank you. And
Plus 75 or something.
yeah, and plus 75. 73. Okay, cool. No. So no mistake. Okay.
What was Askell's skill as well? Did we do that?
He's got no attunement skill.
Yes, that's a good point. So, thank you. Thanks, Pete. What is his attunement? He doesn't have an attunement skill, so what is the stats for attunement, please? Someone who's got it, handy. Yotto, you'll have it. Can someone tell me real fast?
What are you after, Chris? An attunement skill will be for an individual.
No,
right?
no. That's the stats. What stats are used for attunement?
Strength?
No.
Oh, it's I can tell you. Sorry, it's EM and IN.
There you go. Thank you.
Empathy and intuition.
Yep.
Yep.
I think with I mean, let me know. So that's negative 25 divided by those two. So plus your bonus for each of those divided by 2.
Oh, yeah. So it's plus 2 and plus 14. So 16 divided by 2 plus 8.
Plus 8. Cool. Okay. I mean, plus 8. 8 minus 25. Okay. So that's some. Regret to say. So Askell, you're sitting here, and you're having a really good look at this ring. And Nicholas has gone over, he spent pretty much the entire day in this miserable wet day in the boat, describing it to you. And yeah, unfortunately, you think you've just about got it, and you turn it round in your hand, and all of a sudden there is and you blast yourself with this ring. Roll an attack on yourself, please, Askell.
Nice. 51.
51 could be a lot worse. Have you put your armor back on, by the way, Askell?
No, he doesn't wear it.
So you've discarded your armor, or you still have it, or have you still got it with you? Have you discarded your armor, or you still have it with you?
So I was told it was up at the top of the hill above the cave. So, but I don't know whether we went back and got that stuff or not. So if we didn't, then no, it's still on the top of a hill above a cave.
No, it was retrieved. Was retrieved.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, so he wouldn't be wearing it anyway. But
Yep.
yeah, as in regards to whether it was returned, then yes, I guess it was brought back.
Cool. And was there a bonus? Was there a bonus on that ring? Was it plus something or other?
I have no idea.
Was it a plus? Hey,
It was a negative 100. Negative 200 to any attack. No, plus 20 shock bolt.
thank you, lovely. Plus 20. Thank you. Plus 20. Plus 20 shock bolt with a roll of 50. Would you apply your own directed spells against yourself?
I guess only if you were using it.
What's that? Sorry? Say again, please.
I would have thought only if you were using that spell, but
Yeah.
I was just attuning it, right?
But he has made a grave error attuning it.
So I've been reading about directed spells recently, Chris, and they say you don't require concentration, which I still understand, but they do require you to deliberately apply. So I need to be explicit about using it before I use one of my directed spells. So if Anthony was deliberate about it, then, I mean, Askell then possibly, but if not, then it would seem
So
not.
he's deliberate about it. The issue is, would he have been trying to cast the spell or just trying to get his head around how to use the spell?
So I would lean towards a yes.
You would have your bonus?
Yes.
Okay, what's your bonus?
If you're giving it a whirl and you've set off the shock bolt,
Yep.
then yes.
Okay.
So plus 28.
It's 28, okay. So 20 plus 28. Ow! That really hurt. That's 4 and an A electricity. Roll your A electricity on yourself, please, Askell.
Uh, 16.
60. Flat 60?
16. 1-6.
Oh, 1-6. Okay. Should be fine. Foe is spun about and loses 1 round of initiative, plus 3 hits. You take another 3 hits and you actually get the force of this thing going off basically in your face. At the very last second you moved, you were sitting on this bed here, and there is now a kind of a charcoal bit on the wall where the shock bolt went off. And it's pushed you completely around, Askell. You take another 3 hits and you lose 3 rounds of electricity. You were very, very, very lucky. Why I was particularly keen for those, you can see the screen. You initially rolled an 84, which was a 5, so you rolled down again. You then rolled a 25, which was a 95, which was down. You then rolled an 87, which was, a 98, which was down. You then rolled a 95, which was down. And then you topped it off with a 73, which was a 44. That's all down. That makes sense? So, ouch.
Yeah.
Regrettably, Askell, so the direct description is whatever spell and abilities in the item or the rune paper are acted and directed against you. Any items, any runes on the rune paper, and you'll never be able to use any of the spells or abilities that are contained on the item. I'm afraid this ring is beyond you, Askell. And
Just a shiny ring.
And you nearly killed yourself with it.
I think with Askell with his Albert Einstein here would probably hand it back over to Nicholas and just...
You have it.
Yeah, no thanks.
Okay. you took some hits over a period of hours with some Jadar ministrations. Unless you particularly want to roll Jadar doing a heal spell, you recuperate.
Yeah. In between, obviously they've been out and about, but in between, sure.
Give me a roll. 1 or a 2 is a failure.
$63.
No problem. Haskell, you're back to full hits, and she gets the XP. Over the next few days,
Chris, just before we move on, I think Yotto would have seen all of this, and in his standard kind of slightly oversharing way, would have gone to ask what was going on, because he would have noticed he's aware of attunement. He would have noticed this would happened, and would have asked if there's been a failure of attunement, and if there's something that might be of value that he might be able to use if nobody else is interested. I think that would
Nicholas would, to Nicholas's knowledge, Nicholas would know that no one else in the party can use an essence item, he believes. I don't know about Severin and Tanya. They've got anything with essence, or Jadar's definitely mentalism.
Yotto would ask, but he'd let the party discuss amongst themselves. He'd say, I've noticed this happening, I can see something that's going on, it's magical, I wonder if it might be of value to me, if it's of no value to you. If this is something that I can use, if I'm going to help you, it would be good for me and therefore good for you. And would step back and let this party make its own mind up.
Thank you. Yeah, Nicholas would be happy to engage the party about that. Comparing that perhaps no one else in the party is applicable, to use an essence thing, and would anyone mind if,
this complete stranger.
Well, this complete stranger who's going to help us on our quest, perhaps we could lend it to him.
I suggest that would be good. I mean, certainly, from Severin and Tanya, both mentalism. Wouldn't use it, so I think a loan would be a good idea.
A very mental party. So then, Nicholas would definitely come back to Yotto and inquire about how he is with shock bolts. With directed, spells, attack spells that use electricity, and And if he agreed, then Nicholas would then teach him if that's got the rest of the group's blessing.
At which point I think Yotto would say he has spent a number of years learning magic. The magic he's learned is essence magic. He's been advised by others to perhaps be a little more guarded about what he says, but he trusts these. And his magic is of that realm. And if this is an object that may be of value to him and therefore value to the party and might reach the ultimate goal of harming the new Enlightenment party, he'd be interested in knowing about
it. Does he have a skill in directing such magic?
So I think he'd say he both has a skill in firing shot bolts and directing shot bolts, and if this would help with that, that would be of value to him. Can I not say this, Chris? You're coughing.
Sorry. No, frog in my throat. Sorry, mate. No, all good. Sorry, that wasn't anything directed at you.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure I'm not overstepping my mark.
I've just got a frog in my throat I'm trying to dislodge. All good.
Oh, I appreciate I'm slightly new in the Rolemaster. He'd be clear, yes, he has a elemental skill in firing bolts. He'd let the party know his preferences for fire, but he likes shock and electricity that he can also use, and so if this will help him with directed bolts, this is of direct value to his fairly knowledgeable skill set, although it's not a skill set he can use many times in a day. He requires restart.
Well, that might be of value to our group, sure. Don't you think, Nicholas?
Yeah, sounds good. So long as no hard feelings to Eskel. That was just rotten luck. That's
Yeah.
Terrible
Terrible
luck.
luck.
But when you look to him, and he admires his, I wouldn't have even mentioned this if Eskel had attuned to this. This wouldn't have come up.
No, Eskel would be absolutely fine to pass it on.
Keep it away from me. Yeah. Then I suppose Nicholas and Yotto can spend the time doing the teaching, and then over to Yotto do their tuning.
Sure. And so that was a frog in my throat, Giles. That was no hidden message, I promise.
Okay.
Yeah, go for it. So how many are, well, it's a number of days that you're waiting, so we don't need to roll how many hours. So plus 75 to the roll. This is a masked roll. Give it a roll. Let's see what happens.
Guess he rolls 28.
Masked. Okay. And what's his skill with attunement?
So the attunement skill is 45.
5. He gets 75 to the roll because he's been helped by Nicholas. Success! So, yeah, you spend a good number of hours, firstly, in tutelage with Nicholas. This is the second time, Nicholas, you've had a pupil. And then you spend some time, Yotto, with these complete strangers who have just given you this nice shiny ring. I'll find a picture of it if someone doesn't have one handy. And yeah, you get your head around it. Not absolute success, but you can you learn the abilities and what it contains, and you are now attuned to this item. You can now use it. Pete, if you could have it handy, I don't have it immediately to hand. The abilities, if you could pop that into the main chat, that would be hugely appreciated. For mechanical point of view, Yotto, you're skilled with fire bolt, so you would get half your fire bolt skill for using this ring, but it's a plus 20 ring, so you'd get half your skill and plus 20 on top of it.
That's helpful. It's the additive, Chris, not multiplicative additive. It's not one or the other.
It's both. Correct.
Okay, that's super helpful. So if he fires a shock bolt, just so I'm really clear, he gets this plus 20 and half his fire skill.
Correct.
Thank you. And he does this 3 times a day, but it requires the use of PowerPoints and the use of...
No, the whole point of it is it doesn't require the use of PowerPoints.
Oh my god, this is massive. Okay, at which point does Yotto recognize this when he...
Yeah, when he gets his head around it, yes.
Okay, in which case Yotto will turn to Nicholas and tell him that what he's just done is massively increased his capacity to use his shock bolt. This is a spell he has. He plans on using this to destroy Tikos, and now finds himself embedded within this party and will use it for party success. Absolutely, that's the Dio teaching. So, he'll be very, very grateful.
Askel's loss is Yotto's gain.
And hopefully the party's gain.
And the party's gain. Anthony, that was rotten luck. Okay, anything else that you are doing over this period of time?
Nicholas would just he would respond with gratitude and understanding to Yotto, but actually, his reaction is this guy is quite different to who they've come across in the past. His genuineness and his openness is quite, it's interesting. It's refreshing. It's, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Anything else from anybody else? Anything else I need to know? Oh, all right. So, a number of days pass, and I'd like to say that it stops raining, but doesn't. In fact, today you arrived on the 5th. In this dismal, dreary place, it keeps raining. And within just a couple of short days, you are heartily sick of this place. There really isn't a lot of people here, so you do a little bit of exploring. It is a very small town, and you get to know your way around it pretty quickly and pretty easily. So certainly from the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, it absolutely buckets down, particularly on the 6th. Quite a serious storm. The 10th, and Pete, Nicholas has been trying all the way through the signal rod without success. And then finally on the 10th, miraculously, wonderfully, absolutely amazingly, for the first time in a very long time, the rain stops. And Osot is not nice. It's not a nice place, but it is definitely better without any rain. And the very next day, the 11th, on the morning of the 11th, your host, who has basically rinse and repeat the same activities that he has done previously with you. He's fed you, he's looked after you, he's been pleasant, he's volunteered any local information that he has. It sounds like what he does not do is tell you anything about himself, so he doesn't share any information about himself personally. But he shares a little bit of information about the local area. He's never left Osot. He's been here his entire life. You have worked that much out about him. But on the morning of the 11th, he comes to you and says, kind of around mid-morning, that he's had good news and that it is time to move on. And when you're ready, if you'd assemble your gear and come with him, he will escort you to the navigator column. Jump in at any moment. Going once, going twice, gone for anybody who wants to do anything.
Yeah, I've got to pop off in real life. Excuse me a moment.
Okay. You collect up your gear. You follow him down the no longer pouring with rain streets, and you make your way into what is one of the largest buildings you've seen in Osot. Large, very large stone building. Probably the most attractive that you've seen. I mean, this is kind of your surrounds, but a large, what would have been white stone, it's now kind of green with algae and moss and slime. But it probably was, perhaps in times past, certainly more attractive than it is now. And you have seen in your number of days that you've been here, 6-7 days you've been here, a very limited number of constabulary armed people. Every now and then you might see someone with a sword. Most people aren't armed. You do get a few odd looks if you guys go out with weapons, but no one really. People just kind of keep to themselves here. There really hasn't been much in the way of armed soldiers, but in this place it's different. There are several armed people outside. Your host goes up and has a quiet word with one of them, and your host just simply turns to you and nods, and you follow on behind. None of the guards, no one asks you any questions. There is no interaction. And you come inside and you go down a long corridor, and a set of mouldering old double doors are open up, and you find yourself in this room here. And that's pretty much what you see. Except the column is probably a little bit more like that, a little bit slenderer. Maybe not as wide, but pretty much that. in this kind of mouldering building. And yeah, for the first time, there's a collection of people that have a decent number of weapons around, and they kind of get to their feet as you come in. There's a guy, one of their number, at the back, who's got a book, and he's seated at a desk. He looks up at you, and your host goes up and just quietly has a couple of words to him, and he just... the gentleman at the desk just simply closes his book. And your host just turns to you and says, please, gesturing at the column.
Severin will bow at him and shake his hand and say, thank you for your assistance, much appreciated.
He nods.
Let's get on our way then.
What do you do?
Well, I can't remember where the name of the place we're going. But I'm sure Pete will if he's still here.
To summon...
Jez Garrett?
Pete's gone. Pete's gone.
Wasn't it Jez Garrett?
Rascarrot.
Raz Garrett. Close.
There you go. It's a proper noun. You know, they come, they go. Let's go there then.
Okay. You remember how to summon a navigator?
I don't know. No.
We need a coin or token or something.
You can pay with the tokens, which a number of you have, but no, you just simply rest your hand against the device and just simply say, I require a navigator.
We'll do that then.
Okay. Within an instant, and I mean, like, within a blinding second, this man appears. Very well dressed. Impeccably dressed. He's holding in his hand this object. Wonder if I can scroll through. That would be nuts. No, okay. Yes, I can. Cool. It looks very similar to that. He arrives, and as he arrives, your host just heads up and pulls him aside, has a discussion. The gentleman concerned just looks at you and says, I understand your destination. I understand that your travel costs have already been met. Please follow me. Please place your hand upon the stone. And you duly do.
Wonderful.
Put your stone up. You put your hands up on the stone, I should say. And for a number of you that have travelled this way, you're not particularly looking forward to it, remembering the rather unsavoury landing at the other end. But nonetheless, you place your hands, and all of a sudden, there is a noise and a sound, flashing lights, and everything just disappears. And suddenly you are in a different place. And there are similar sounds. There are the sounds of people talking, and people outside, and sounds of dogs and animals in the streets, and you are in a different place. But for all of you who have been through this, you're somewhat prepared. Whether Yotto has or has not, I'm not sure. But you feel like you're being turned inside out and upside down. Your insides spill out through your nostrils and your brain dribbles out your toes. It is a horrifying, utterly horrendous experience. Your stomach lurches from side to side, and I'd like all present, please, to make a hard -10 self-discipline check. Roll the dice, add on your self-discipline bonus, minus 10 off it, and you've got to make 50 or above. If you don't make 50, you've failed the roll. Give me a roll, please.
Chris, do we take our stat? Is that what you're after?
Stat bonus.
The stat bonus?
Correct.
And stat is useless. The stat bonus is more important. Okay, 80. And then what do we need? More than 50?
More than 50. Correct.
Okay, fine, I'm fine.
Eskel failed.
Severin's fine.
Okay.
I'm okay.
Askel failed. And Jada?
Forgot about here. Check.
Tanya failed.
Okay. Anya and Askel so far?
Jada's fine.
Okay. So with both Askel and with Tanya, your stomach just completely rebels, and at the other end, there's just no stopping it. And up comes your most recent meal, your breakfast of that day. Very fortunately, as you may recall from journeying in previous places, there is a rather handy receptacle which you both gratefully use, but you are quite violently sick for a moment or so. And it does take the two of your characters a bit of time to realise where they are. Others kind of come to it a bit faster. You're in a place. It isn't this. It is much nicer than this. The walls are freshly plastered and white and clean. But the sense is similar. It's a large room. It's an airy room. There is one of these black stone columns in the room, and yet again there are a number of soldiers. This time, unlike the motley collection of people that you left, with rusted spears and kind of half rotting away chainmail and bent swords, there is a contingent of what appear to be at first glance highly disciplined, rugged, capable, sturdy looking Thracian soldiers, armed to the teeth. And they have their weapons pointed down, but towards you. And the tone and the sense and the vibe of this building is order and cleanliness and structure and order, and absolutely disciplined troops. As you arrive, however, to one side, along with these Thracian troops, there is this woman. She very plain, very unadorned. Nothing particularly special about her. But she just says quietly something to one of the soldiers. By the way, your guide has vanished, and just says something quietly to the soldiers. He nods, and she comes up and collects you. Or she comes up and introduces herself. She says, "Greetings, my name..." And she's speaking, by the way, in quite strangely accented Westron. It's quite nice for a number of the people who speak Westron as their home tongue to hear this language being spoken. Greetings, my name is Maisie. Welcome to Rasgarret. I'm your host here. Please, follow me. Does anybody, once Tanya and Askel have recovered, does anybody say or do anything?
No, I mean, Severin will play nod and gestures for her to lead on, and
okay,
for sure.
Right. Anybody else? Oh, okay.
No, nothing from Jada or Askell.
Okay. So you head out. Anything from Yotto that I need to know? No obligation to say anything. Just
Yotto doesn't understand.
I.
He doesn't
He, do,
understand what's being said.
he doesn't speak Westron. Okay. Cool. So you head out into the streets of Rasgarret, and it's really the first thing that strikes you is firstly the climate. It's still hot, definitely, but that humidity, that absolutely brutal humidity, it's still there a little bit, but it's definitely diminished. The elevation you feel is a bit taller, and the air is fresher and cleaner. It's hot, as I say, but not brutally so, and not that crushing oppressiveness of the South Cantana Sea, where you've been for quite some time. And what a sight confronts you. You are in a Thracian garrison town, and it's kind of, the images I'm going to show are kind of a bit of a weird blend. If you imagine kind of heavily fortified, and there are definitely good, strong, appear to be pretty well intact walls, and good typical northern Thracian / Elizabethan style architecture in place. So take, if you will, from those images, both the fortifications you can see, kind of the architecture, and the soldiers and kind of that gear. But the environment is quite different. You are in what feels to be almost like, it's almost like a savanna subtropical environment, and there are palm trees, and it's definitely hot and steamy. But most prominent of all, yes, there are Thracians, and there are people that look like Macy and the soldiers you've seen. But absolutely, as you walk through the streets, the thing that strikes you most are the locals, are the blueskins. These people, fiercely proud, heavily tattooed on their chests and their arms, often with torques around their necks, often and considerably poorer than what appear to be their Thracian overlords. And you walk through several of these streets just to give you a bit of a flavour of the place. A number of people, very few people are armed. The soldiers are, obviously. The locals are very conspicuously are not armed. A few more images just to give you a flavour. So these are a lot of the locals. A bit of a street scene. This is probably a mixture of the architecture. If you imagine a bit of that mixed with a bit of that, is kind of where you're at, and definitely kind of palm trees. A few more of the street scenes.
Cool.
And one of the gates with some of the soldiers, and a few more of the street scenes. There is one last group of people, however, that you see, and without a doubt, and how do I do this, because neither Jada's here nor Peter's here, but only Graham's here. Okay, I guess that's what we're gonna have to do.
I'm here.
Peter's back. Okay, cool. One of the things that you see very prominently are the Thracian soldiers, who look very different from these blueskins, Mara people, clan people. Is another group of people, and their skin color is very, very different, and the weapons that they are armed. The weapons they carry are very, very different. Their equipment is mismatched, all in good quality, but all mismatched. But there's one thing that unites them, one thing that all of them have. All of them, every single one of these other people, have a symbol on them. It's a symbol that you recognize. Severin and Nicholas, Jada. It is the symbol of the Joyful Butchers, a band of mercenaries hired by the Thracians that you have come across before, and that is where we shall leave it for tonight.
Mummy! Maybe. Lovely. Thanks very much, Chris.
Excellent. Thanks, Chris.
Brilliant. Sorry to have ducked out there.
All good, Pete.
We're in Rasgarret, I take it.
You are in Rasgarret. And those street scenes, we're walking through the streets of Rasgarret. You have a host who, Macy, who has met you at the Navigator Stone. And yes, there we have it.
Right.
Sophocles? Was it Jado who had it last?
It was.
time?
Yep.
Alright, cool. I will give it to Yotto. Welcome aboard.
Yay!
Yay. It's not
Thank you very
bad, is
much.
it?
Nice to
So-
be here. And nice to be
Please
here.
and a magic item on your first night. Get you.
Sophocles.
I've got to say, not only an item, but actually a really, really